Welcome to a brand new episode of this Let's Play of Super Meat Boy. Into this update, we're finally tackling the third chapter of the game, the Salt Factory. With 100% more adventures of Lolo, or in this case, adventure of Meat Boy. However, this entire cutscene doesn't look that ominous considering the source material that it draws upon, considering that, well, instead of going to a dark castle, you go into this grain factory with... Okay, it's not all that menacing, but come on, dead trees! And soon enough, there will be plenty of dead meats as well, because you know what happens if you pour too much salt into meat. It becomes impossible to heat and plain unhealthy, so let's avoid all of that and let's play the Salt Factory. Complete with what I'd say is probably the most upbeat and not catchy song of the entire game, but this song is really upbeat and it's full of energy, so it really makes you go forward a whole lot and it really drives you to the point. And you'll be needing it for this one level, because even though there's nothing particularly hard about the navigation of this level, you have to hurry because, yeah, even though I didn't really mess up a whole lot, I still ended up only like 1 second below the par time, so you must not be a slouch in order to finally get all of those grade A+ times. It's only getting harder from now on. And these conveyor belts will either slow you down or make you speed at unbelievable speeds that you never thought would be possible. And there are other times where the conveyor belts will simply be a huge hindrance and will simply drive you toward obstacles a whole lot more, case in point. Just because that you thought, okay, I think I'm far enough from the conveyor belt, so I don't need to fight that thing anymore, but no, you must walk off the entire thing. And yeah, usually this is not a hard level, but whenever you're speeding around like this, the saw blades can make it really hard to speed around and staying alive. I'm dying a whole lot more in this level than I really should, but them's the break. There are many places into this level where the saw shooters will shoot saws and their emplacement will be at a place so that whenever you be walking around that place, it will pretty much enter you into the best way possible. This level, however, uses a pretty cool mechanic with the conveyor belts. You can use them in order to launch yourself high up into the sky, just like the fans, but into this instance you have to hug walls in order to be flying into the air. Unlike the fans, where you could simply be in the middle of it all and you will fly into the air, you have to be hugging the walls, and into this instance you can see the danger here, because if you keep hugging the walls, whenever you'll be at the top of it all, well, you're just gonna crash into a pile of salt and you will die. But at this point of the game still gives you a lot of slack, considering that they put all of those platforms at the bottom of every single conveyor belt in order to make it so that you don't let go the entire belt and just crash into a pit. And we get the rocket launchers, a fan favorite into pissing you off, and you really gotta be alert with those because they go incredibly fast into this game. Into other games of this genre, such as N for instance, well, rocket launchers will be pretty slow, but they will be also incredibly steady and will have a pretty good way into tracking you and homing toward you. Well, those rocket launchers are the complete opposite. They're really fast, but they're also incredibly imprecise, and usually as long as you're constantly moving around, or whenever you're doing some dodging maneuver at the very last second, you usually will dodge the rockets. So once you get the hang of it, these obstacles are not too tough to deal with, but the first time that you have to deal with them, they certainly are intimidating. In the end, it all boils down to not panicking. So in terms of difficulty, this is really where the game will start getting a whole lot harder, both into the light world and into the dark world. There's not a whole lot difficult yet, but you can be sure that things are gonna get a whole lot nastier. And yeah, by the way, you can jump between the saws that you've seen at the right which are chasing you, but we will save this for another time. Yeah, notice the second and the third saw from the top. The hole there is a whole lot wider, so yeah, you're gonna have to jump through this at some point in order to achieve a particular goal. This level is pretty much being built only in order to test your reflexes, because the moment that you spawn you have to jump, otherwise you're gonna get cut by the saws which are closing in from the bottom. Yeah, not a whole lot of leeway there, and If you're like me and you get easily distracted and you just kind of forget things, well, this will be the kind of obstacles which will spill your doom into an Iron Man run, where you try and beat all of the levels all at once. And yeah, by the way, usually you just follow the saw blades like a gentle little meat boy. It is possible to save a few seconds of your time by jumping through the little hole which will be left by the saw whenever it'll be in the complete corner. Yeah, it's really tight and it's really tricky to jump through, so unless you know what you're doing, try not doing that, because if you're doing some kind of race or something, you're just gonna lose a whole lot more time if you lose this, because there's absolutely no other way to go faster to this level. And welcome to a completely uneventful level. Honestly, even at this point of the game, it's a little bit too easy. You could have fit a level like this into the forest, for crying out loud, but here we're supposed to be cranking things up a little bit in terms of difficulty, so come on. We don't have to keep slacking all of the time here, game. I really can't decide if I like or don't like this world in general, because I honestly don't care much for most of the levels into the light world, if only because, I don't know, we're still into the point of the game where things are a little bit too easy and just... Some of the levels also feel kinda samey, but things are gonna change up once we get into the dark world. But this, however, is not a bland level, not at all. You can make this level as interesting as you want, especially here. Oh my god! There's way too many rockets here, help! Okay, I don't need any more help, but yeah. Well, things got a whole lot interesting today, but yeah, I'm gonna redo the level because unfortunately, thanks to this action-packed moment, we unfortunately didn't get the grade A+. But yeah, notice how come this run was the total opposite from the other one. There were barely any rockets this time around. Yep. You decide to make things how interesting or as boring as you want. Basically, if you jump from wall to wall fast enough, or if you stick to only one wall at a time, you'll make it so that there won't be as much rockets pelting you all at once. So this is how you make the level a lot easier. As for this level, you don't have to wait around if you're careful and you manage to do a really precise jump into one of the holes into the ceiling, because some of them are big enough so that you'll be able to fit through, but it's incredibly unlikely that you'll be able to do those jumps as Meat Boy, so you're gonna have to use some other character in order to do so. We'll find some new characters into this chapter that will help us into that regard. Here comes another obstacle that we'll see a whole lot. Having to dodge rocket launchers while going through breakable blocks. Fun for the entire family, especially into later levels. You can be sure that the Dark World version of this level will be a whole lot more menacing than that. And here comes the final level. Okay, that was not how you scale a wall while there's a rocket launcher at the top. This can be a really tricky. I mean, for a light world level, this is a surprisingly tricky obstacle. While some of the world has been a little bit too easy, this obstacle, however, can pretty much throw you off the first time that you play. Yeah, you have to wait until the rocket launcher preps itself up to shoot, and finally you can do your wall jump in order to dodge the rocket just in time. You must not jump blindly, because otherwise then you will eventually come into the line of sight of the rocket launcher and you will die. But that's okay, after waiting for so long, we can finally enjoy a quick victory into this level, while we're watching an avalanche of me dying into unison, and watching me blunder in plain stupidity by walking off ledges. But, oh come on, that's another story. So, time for the boss encounter, Brownie! How is Dr. Feathers going to top his saw-killing machine as well than his homicidal-loving blob of blood and disease? Yeah, we have to deal with against a shitting robot! Because I'm not really sure that's the fittest doing right here. This was a cutscene for a whole lot of people, where people were pretty much decrying the fact that the cutscenes into this game look like glorified Flash animations, but honestly I don't really care, considering that their content is well conveyed. So, what is our mysterious foe? Okay, this is not Dr. Feather's crowning moment, but this is, with his remote control that manages to do everything all at once. So, welcome to the boss fight, which is not even a boss fight, because, yeah, it's a race against Brown Guy right here, who is not even your opponent, because, just like you, he's trying to survive the inescapable rising pit of salt which is rising from the bottom of the screen. Basically, he just serves as a guide for you to follow, or you can simply outrun him if you feel like being a jerk. Ah, come on, I need to wait for him because we're into the same boat after all. Uh-oh, I'm no longer the master of my destiny because, yeah, you can see the salt is rising a whole lot faster. Hurry up! And we made it. Basically, the only way to lose is to just get killed by the salt. You do not win or lose if brown guy gets here before you. But we're not gonna abandon him, because that's the kind of person that we are. Hey, he was my friend first! And once again, Dr. Fetus wonders why nobody likes him. God, what a piece of shit this guy is! Hello, I just killed your friend, does that mean we can finally be friends? Uh-oh, whenever this remote comes off, it's never good news. Well, this remote control certainly was bad news, because, yeah, we've died, but come on, we've beaten this chapter! And yeah, we're gonna count deaths from now on into every single playthrough. We've died 21 times into this update. So, stay tuned for the next update, in which we're gonna tackle the dark side of the salt factory. All of the sodium that you've ever wanted, at which point it'll blur your vision and make you unable to see.